Apocalypse+Metaphysics+Group Pets+Double Cleanliness+Double Strength+TeamThe leader of the cultivation world, Linyue, failed to cross the tribulation and was killed by the 9 heavenly thunders. She wore on until the end of the world. The good news is that although the spiritual energy here is depleted, she can absorb the inner crystal core of the magic beast here to cultivate spiritual energy. The bad news is that her spiritual level cannot be captured by technology and has been displayed as an ordinary person. The worst news is that due to her cultivation, she cannot awaken any of the abilities in this post-apocalyptic world. So the following awkward situation arose. The psychic beast attacked the base, and the psychic rushed to the front line wearing armor. She shouted at her, who was charging forward with a sword, "Little girl, quickly hide in the base. The skin of the psychic beast is too thick for ordinary swords to kill." His words fell even further, and he saw the little girl's flying sword slaying the head of the supernatural beast, which was even more shocking than cutting iron like mud. Linyue turned her head and replied in a daze, "Ah. What are you saying? The wind is a bit strong, I can't hear clearly." The psychic twitched his lips and raised his voice a bit. "It's nothing, you continue to kill the living immortal." Chapter 1. What are you? You are listening at novel full.audio. How many people would know if you, an ordinary person who has not awakened and no abilities, died here? Don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame me for not having any useful value anymore. You will also stop me from attacking Lin Xiao. The girl's voice with a cute doll-like sound made her brain ache. I really want to have her tongue pulled out. Isn't Linyue in the period of transforming into a god during the thunder calamity? What happened in the middle in a daze? I was about to open my eyes when I was bombarded by countless memories and closed them tightly again. 50 years ago, the Earth was invaded by an unnamed virus, and overnight, animals and plants mutated into powerful beasts that began attacking humans. The global human population has sharply halved. At the same time, various abilities have also awakened among humans. During the 50 years of fighting against psychic beasts, humans established bases and combined technology with psychic abilities to have the strength to counterattack and the opportunity to survive. And she, also known as Linyue, is an ordinary senior high school student with no signs of awakening. During the period of protecting humanity, parents made heroic sacrifices one after another. After her parents left, her fiancé Linyue took care of her in every way possible, which also made her develop a huge dependence on her. Now, she is always trying to please her, even willing to give up all the resources left by her parents. Despite countless times of her inability to awaken, he became increasingly indifferent to her, even to the point of later boredom and indifference. Even if he didn't agree to be with Linyue, his actions were like a white-eyed wolf betraying a heartless man. The hypocrisy of being both righteous and upright. Linyue weakly opened her eyes and struggled to sit up, looking around at abandoned high-rise buildings and the gradually sinking orange sunset. Linyue restrained her anger of wanting to kill the dog man and woman, and looked towards the gradually darkening sky. In her memory, the night was the active period of the psychic beasts, and although this uninhabited area had been bombed many times, it was difficult to guarantee that there were still hidden psychic beasts. Only the night at the base is relatively safe. Linyue couldn't help but feel uneasy. She suppressed the pain and sat down to feel herself. Surprisingly, it turned out to be an ancient and unparalleled celestial body that can be cultivated with full spiritual power, with a speed 10 times that of an ordinary cultivator. Every time the heavenly spirit root is born, it is crazily snatched by various sects in the cultivation world. Even some sects that cannot be obtained have to find ways to destroy them. The surprise had not yet dissipated, but despair followed. Her body has no spiritual power to cultivate, and the spiritual power in this post-apocalyptic world is so scarce that it is truly tragic. Roaming. A loud noise came from the depths of the ruins, and Linyue was interrupted. Her cold eyes looked into the distance. The sun has already set halfway, and the night is eager to envelop the sky. Ah! A piercing cry rang out fiercely, like a thunderous roar. Linyue only felt a faint pain in her entire ear and couldn't help but cover it. Bang! Under the resounding roar, the already broken glass rustled down like snowflakes, knocking down a patch of dust. It's a superpowered beast that she doesn't know its level. Linyue squinted her eyes without any hesitation and began to quietly retreat towards the base. Just as she was about to flee to the edge of the base, she suddenly sensed the breath of spiritual power. This gave her an extreme surprise. As he groped towards the spiritual source, he saw a rotten giant mouse lying in the wastewater ditch. Suppressing the pungent breath, he pulled out a gray-white, slightly glowing prismatic nucleus from the giant mouse's body. Linyue's eyes showed surprise, and there was hope for cultivation. After successfully verifying her identity, she entered the base and didn't rush home. She found an underground apartment and began to absorb it. After 3 consecutive days, when Linyue opened her eyes again, she had already reached the level of Qi cultivation. The cultivation realm she belongs to is divided into Qi refining, foundation building, golden elixir, Yuanning, exorcism, spirit transformation, cave void, Mahayana, and Immortal. It's truly a heavenly spirit body, and the cultivation speed is really incredible. Linyue couldn't help but sigh. Even though she was hailed as the first genius back then, it took her a month to reach the perfect stage of Qi refining. Linyue decided to go back to school first to retrieve what belonged to the original owner. School, auditorium. The quota for entering the intermediate level power high pressure chamber for cultivation is announced below. The teacher's enthusiastic voice echoed through the microphone in the auditorium. The classmates all lowered their heads and stared at the light brain on their wrists. Qilian happily looked at the admission notice on his mind. As expected, apart from Linyue, a genius who had already been sent in advance, only her strength was the strongest in the school. Yuan on one side flattered like a dog's leg, "I promise to buy you 100,000 star coins to get into the card." "You can't go back on your word, Xin." Lianxin took out the admission card with blood from his pocket and wiped it with a damp cloth, feeling disgusted. "Of course I won't go back on my word, but you'll accompany me in a play later," he said. Yuan kept nodding, her eyes fixed on the admission sign. Below is the announcement of the preferential treatment quota for the children of martyrs who have made contributions by the country. We hope you will cherish the opportunity given by the country. Chen Jixin, Zhu Ruru, Song Xiaoyu. And Linyue. As soon as the teacher's words fell, he took a deep look at Lianxin. Lianxin nodded slightly towards the teacher on stage and suddenly stood up, with a cute appearance and teardrop red-eye frames, which made people feel a sense of protection. "Teacher, I can't contact Linyue anymore." All the students turned their heads and focused their gaze on Lianxin. Lianxin wiped away her tears, took out the admission card, and publicly announced the information sent to her by Linyue. Linyue. Xin, don't worry about me. I have my own business to do. Please give me the admission card as a gift to Yuan. She helped me a lot back then, so let me repay her. No one would doubt Lianxin. After all, she has always been cute, strong, and kind. She is very popular in school, and both boys and girls have a good impression of her. The teacher looked at Lianxin, who was in tears, and then saw Yuan, who was shocked and saddened, nodding with satisfaction. Since it was given by Linyue, then this admission card is for. Bang! Before the teacher could finish reciting his name behind him, the door of the auditorium was kicked open by someone. The dim auditorium was filled with light, and a slender woman with long hair stood by the door, her every move and gesture exuding an aura that was too intimidating to approach. "What person? This is school, you. Does this look a bit like Linyue?" said a student near the door who knew Linyue, unsure. "How could it be? Just the useless person who follows behind Lin Xiao all day. When will she lift her head and walk on the road? The classmate next to her shrugged, saying it was impossible. Qilian Xian and Su Wan also looked towards the door together and exchanged a glance. Qi Lianxin sneered, "It's truly despicable. It's really difficult to kill. Even if I poke her in the heart, she didn't die." Suwan grabbed her arm and said nervously, "What should I do? She's back in my spot." "It's okay, even if she claims it today, it will definitely be yours before she officially enters." Qi Lianxin's malicious gaze made Su Wan tremble. But she is the abandoned daughter of the Su family. Without her help, she would not be able to enter the mid-level ability warehouse, and her cultivation would not be outstanding, so she would never be able to return to the Su family again. With this in mind, she firmly said, "I'll add another 20,000 star coins, a total of 120,000, which is already all our belongings." Xin, it's all up to you." Kiliangxin nodded and quickly wiped away her tears, crying, "Is it Si Linyue? Are you Xiaoye?" Si Linyue walked forward step by step and arrived in front of Qilian Xian, who hugged her tightly. From an invisible perspective, she whispered in her ear, "Si Linyue, if you haven't died, you're lucky. If you're more sensible, you can cooperate and say yes when I say something later. If..." Bang! With a heavy kick, Kiliangxin immediately widened her eyes, endured immense pain, and dodged 5 or 6 meters away. The red carpet in the auditorium was shattered by her foot brake, splashing a patch of dust. The entire auditorium was covered in needles, and Si Linyue took a photo of the place where she had held her, disdainfully saying, "Cooperate with you? What are you?" Chapter 2. Sorry for the hard fate. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Everyone in the auditorium was startled. Is this still the Lu Hai, who was afraid to look up and face people when walking, and the dog that was jokingly referred to as Lin Xiao, Si Linyue? Si Linyue, you actually beat up students in front of the teacher. The teacher on the podium glared angrily. Si Linyue turned around and stared coldly at the teaching director wearing glasses on stage. If it weren't for this teaching director intentionally leaking her admission quota in her 3rd year of high school, how could so many people deliberately bully her? If it weren't for his deliberate indulgence, how could Kiliangxin dare to kill martyrs? They were convinced that Linyue was like a dog to her, and there was no one behind her to support her. They were certain that she would definitely die outside. It's quite disgusting that the original owner died in the hands of such a despicable person. Si Linyue closed her eyes and suppressed the killing intent in her own eyes. After all, this is the auditorium, and her current strength is really at a disadvantage compared to their group. Wait for her to slowly retrieve it. Si Linyue opened her eyes again, her murderous intent disappeared, leaving only a jar of pristine water. I think Qi Lianxin made a mistake. My spot will not be given to anyone. Standing on the side, Qi Lianxin, who was in great pain from being kicked, sat with sinister eyes and covered her chest, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Xiaoye, what's wrong with you? You said it yourself and handed over the things to me, but now you suddenly say this in front of everyone. Is there someone forcing you? Everyone couldn't help but hate Si Linyue when they saw Qi Lianxin's expression. A voice directly mocked and said, I see you did it on purpose. You were jealous of Qi Lianxin and came up with such a malicious solution. Si Linyue raised her eyebrows and turned her head to gaze deeply at the female classmate who was speaking. She was also someone who liked Linyue, and because she couldn't match Qi Lianxin, she had to vent her anger on her. As far as I know, all admission cards are real name registered. Since I claim them on site, even if there is a big reason, they should belong to me, shouldn't they? His eyes were heavy and terrifying. The girl who was speaking became angry with embarrassment and said, You useless person who can't awaken your abilities, going to the intermediate pressure chamber is also a way to die. It's better to give the quota to someone who needs it more. When she was in the cultivation world, Linyue was at the level of a great master. People would run away when they saw each other, and flowers would wither when they saw each other. In terms of energy, death would not be worth one's life. Seeing her face turn red with anger, Linyue let out a sigh and a hint of sadness appeared on her face. Although our company, Linyue, has not awakened its abilities, it dare not disappoint the country's preferential treatment and parents' expectations. Even if I want to break my bones, I will try it out. What if I awaken when I am on the brink of death? A god of war like my father, or a brainstorming like my mother? As she spoke more and more passionately, Linyue and the girl both twitched their lips. Linyue glanced at the two of them eating feces and felt very happy. Even if my aunt doesn't use this quota, I won't give it to you even if I throw it to the dog. Linyue, if you don't want to be shameless, you won't have a chance if you can't wake up even at the age of 18. Saying so nice is nothing more than not wanting to. The woman on one side's angry chest heaved and her hands clenched. Linyue saw that the other party was furious and in a very good mood. She also smiled and gave her a serious look, nodding and saying, "Ah, yes, you're right." The girl said, Linyue, I'm going to kill you." She lost face and ran away in anger. Although she wasn't as talented as Linyue, she wasn't a vegetarian either. There is a world of difference between a low-level warrior and an unawakened ordinary person, not to mention that she has awakened and doubled her power. With 1,000 pounds of leg strength, he swept towards Linyue. Linyue stood still in place, planning to give a few pounds later. Just as her foot was about to hit her, a sudden figure blocked in front of her. Puff! Linyue vomited blood and fell to the ground, and Linyue instinctively caught her soft waist. The pale face looked at her with a hint of shattering as she said, "Xiaoye, I'll give you this back. This kick will be my atonement for what happened before." Linyue returned the admission card and optical brain to her and turned to look at the girl on the side, saying, "Xiaoye is just an ordinary person. Isn't our martial artists just here to protect ordinary people?" Linyue lowered her eyes as she watched Linyue act wildly, and couldn't help but applaud in her heart. Meow ah, it's been a long time since she saw such a little white flower that can hold people's hearts. Sure enough, the teachers and classmates at school were all worried and looked at Linyue, accusing the girl. The girl was criticized by everyone and left the auditorium in anger. Linyue gently lifted Linyue, with a hint of wary interest flashing in her eyes. "Since this little girl is so interesting, let's keep it and see if there are any other tricks." Linyue wanted to pick her up and grab her hand to get close, but was calmly dodged by Linyue, saying, "Since the item has returned to its original owner, then goodbye." Linyue, holding the admission card, turned around and walked towards the gate outside the auditorium, waving her hand arrogantly with her back to the crowd. Linyue looked at Linyue's back with a heavy expression in his eyes. The amethyst on her waist flickered with radiance, shouting in her mind. The system detected that the liking of the strategy character Linyue had sharply decreased, and the acquired ability attributes were colliding and escaping. "Please reset your liking to after leaving school." Linyue took a taxi on the roadside, marveling at the machinery and high technology of the apocalypse while marveling. If those old monsters in the cultivation world know that they have been fighting for so many years and no one has inherited it, I don't know if they will continue to fight. Poor Earth, there is not a single person who has inherited and practiced. "Classmate, the entrance to the villa area has arrived, and we cannot enter with access control." The driver was very polite to her. After all, those who can live in this place are either wealthy or noble, or they are all outstanding warriors, and neither of them is something he can afford. "Okay, thank you." After paying 1-star coin, Linyue got off the car. This is her current residence and also Linyue's home. 5 years ago, both of her parents were gone, leaving only her and a younger sister who had been adopted since childhood. The younger sister chose to stay at her parents' house in Beiqing district, while she followed the Lin family to come here. I lived here for 5 years. Her eyes were fixed on the last message sent to Linyue in her mind. See Linyue. Location, Linyue, save me. Kiliangsen wants to kill me. Linyue never returned. She's dead, just enough to get rid of her. What a ridiculous man. Now that she is See Linyue, let him try the same feeling of being teased and retaliated. See Linyue used her optical brain to open the door of the Lin family. The guards inside the door first defended themselves, then were surprised and said, "See. Linyue. Aren't you? Did you die outside the base?" replied See Linyue with a smile on her face. The guard was pierced by her, and a hint of discomfort appeared on her face, which was indescribable and awkward. See Linyue chuckled. Sorry, fate is too hard to disappoint everyone. Chapter 3. Anyway, you can't afford it either. You are listening at novel full.audio. See Linyue was too lazy to talk nonsense and walked towards the room on the east side of the second floor. I saw the nannies rummaging through the boxes and cabinets in her room looking for something. A golden bracelet flashed through See Linyue's mind, which was a relic left by her parents for her and her sister. When she left the northern city, she locked the bracelet in the safe left by her parents, and only she and her sister knew the password. What are you looking for? See Linyue asked knowingly. Mom. Ghost. I don't know who shouted. Ah. Screams echoed one after another on the second floor, startling the old butler. The old butler went upstairs to see Linyue, and his surprise flashed through his eyes. He then faintly scolded, "What kind of noise is it? If Madam and young master come back, I want you to look good. You guys go down and get busy with something else first." Upon receiving instructions, the nannies ran away like a gust of wind. "Miss, as long as you're okay, it's just the Lin family." Sigh, the old butler sighed as he looked at the messy room. "It's okay, thank you for taking care of me over the past 5 years." See Linyue stepped into the room. After finding some necessary national documents in the chaos, he smiled at the butler and said, "There's no need to keep this room. I won't come back again in the future." The butler said with both satisfaction and reluctance, "Okay." After leaving the Lin family, See Linyue turned around and glanced, but unfortunately Linyue and his mother were not at home, so it was impossible to continue singing this scene. We need to find a way to make them spit out what they've eaten over the years. Taking a decisive decision, See Linyue sent a message to Linyue. See Linyue. I'm sorry, I'm still alive. Since our current relationship is torturing each other, why not withdraw? In the apocalypse, both engagement and marriage require registration records, especially since this engagement was made between her parents and the Lin family at the time. It has received extremely high attention. If you want to divorce, you also need to go through institutional recognition before it can take effect. Linyue flicked his brain, projecting a portrait with a hint of indifference and impatience. See Linyue, what tricks do you want to play? I am very tired from completing tasks every day. Can we stop making trouble without reason? Looking at Linyue's handsome face, See Linyue's heart twitched with pain, and her face turned pale by 3 points. The original owner's deep emotions had indeed affected her spirit. This kind of heartache flashed by and was suppressed by See Linyue. She also looked back at him with a cold eye and said, "Do you believe it or not? Tomorrow morning, we will go to the marriage registration office to cancel our engagement. I hope you can bring the things I gave you back in the remaining 12 hours. Linyue was momentarily taken aback, then frowned and said, "What is it?" See Linyue was about to be laughed at in anger, and her memory searched for valuable items. 30,000 star coins, a set of advanced armor, 1,000 pounds of low-level quenching materials, and the golden sword that my father used. These are just some big heads among the scattered things. As for those little things, she had no choice but to have the opportunity to beg Lin Tai for them. Linyue's face was angry and he remained silent, his mind flashing. Linyue is currently a freshman student who was admitted early to the University of Might and Magic, and is also a member of the hunting team in the Hunter Alliance. He can perform daily tasks to strengthen himself. During the mission, I accidentally damaged my optical brain. Just now, he had just bought a computer and entered information. When he turned it on, he saw countless messages. There are his mother, Cleanliness+, a team, others, and Linyue. Seeing her distress message, his heart wrenched as he saw that it was already 3 days ago. My heart sank again. Just as I was about to reply to her message, I saw the news of her withdrawal. He was pleasantly surprised that she hadn't died, and looked at her words angrily. He was still thinking that he had been neglecting her recently, so Linyue used her divorce to attract attention when she saw a projection from her mother flashing through her mind. He picked up wearily and said, "Mom, what's wrong?" A hint of embarrassment flashed on Lin Tai's face and she said, "Xiaoyu, didn't you have a mission a few days ago? I heard that Linyue died outside the base, so I wanted to find that thing in her room. After all, she's dead, and good things can't be cheaper than others, can they? I didn't expect that she didn't die and came back to speak harshly, saying she wouldn't go back to the Lin family again. This dead girl will listen to your advice. You see, you advise her. After all, it's a good thing brought back from an alien relic." Linyue's angry and tired face turned even darker, but the person in front of him was his mother. He suppressed his anger and said, "Okay, I know. Also, Xiaoxin is coming to our house for dinner tonight. Remember to come back on time," Lin Tai mentioned, and Linyue's face couldn't conceal her joy. Linyue, on the other hand, didn't feel much. Instead, he rubbed his hair a bit irritably and said, "I have a task tonight, you guys can eat." After hanging the optical brain, Linyue leaned against the steel wall in the training room, opened the optical brain, and checked the position of Linyue. This was when their love was strongest. He set it for her to find her as soon as possible. The last time I used this feature, it seems like it was 3 years ago. Linyue's eyes deepened, and suddenly he grabbed his hair in annoyance. Linyue spent money to rent an apartment for a long time, and after settling down her things, she lay in bed and began to understand the essential things for her cultivation. Linyue awakened Guangnao and said, "Help me search for the crystal core exchange and prices." The projection quickly revealed the latest transaction information. Low-order nuclei require 10,000 star coins, medium-order nuclei require 100,000 star coins, and high-order nuclei are priceless. Linyue was speechless. She thought it was something nobody wanted, but she didn't expect it to be so expensive. With her current assets, she can only buy 5 low-level crystal cores. That day, good luck broke out and I found a gray crystal nucleus, which was a low-level crystal nucleus. In the apocalypse, she had no superpowers and could only rely on crystal nuclei for cultivation. And the crystal core must hunt the psychic beasts to obtain or have a large amount of star coins. After thinking for a while, Linyue planned to buy 3 low-level star cores to break through the foundation period, and she also joined the hunting alliance. Just say and do is her personality. She went to the nearest exchange. It's hard not to pay attention to what Linyue and Yuan are buying together, as if surrounded by stars and the moon. Linyue felt that her time was precious and didn't want to waste it with them, so she decided to leave from the other side. Unexpectedly, Linyue's eyes behind her were sharp, and he scanned her and shouted loudly at her, "Xiaoyu." Linyue stopped and turned to look at Cleanliness+. Cleanliness hurriedly ran over, trying to grab her arm, but she dodged her. Linyue showed a hint of sadness and said, "You blame me, I know. I will make up for myself." Linyue twitched her lips and said, "Isn't that right, big sister? What kind of trouble is this?" Linyue didn't have much time to play with her now and decisively said, "I have something else to do." Seeing that Linyue had left, Yuan dared to come up with a hint of envy in her eyes. I always feel like she's different, she said. She had never been so resolute in rejecting others before. Kiliangsen glanced at Su Wan and then at the back of Linyue, with her own complex emotions in her eyes. You'll listen to me later, Qi Lianqin said in Su Wan's ear. Su Wan nodded after listening. Linyue looked at the counter and saw another white crystal core priced at 8,000 yuan, which piqued her interest. Why is this low-level star core cheaper than others? The teller glanced at the immature high school student, but did not sense any fluctuations in the power level. He lazily replied, this is a low-level star core with miscellaneous attributes. I told you, but you don't understand. Don't stand and block other customers if you can't afford it. Linyue is speechless. Is even a cabinet lady so arrogant? This post-apocalyptic world is really inferior to her in the cultivation world. If it were placed in her cultivation world, she would definitely smash it with gold and kneel down to call her aunt. Linyue scanned the surrounding counters. Apart from the counter lady at the middle, there was a small corner where a little girl with a ponytail and a hearty smile was introducing herself to the guests. Linyue glanced at the cabinet lady in front of her and smiled, since you are so noble, then I will go by someone else. Anyway, you're not the only cabinet lady. You can really pack it. The cabinet lady gritted her teeth and said. Chapter 4. Going to divorce tomorrow. You are listening at novel full.audio. Linyue ignored her and stepped towards the small counter in the corner. The little girl smiled heartily, with a soft white light scattered around her, which was a great blessing for her appearance. Linyue stood firm at the counter. Fingering at the white crystal nucleus in the corner of the glass, he said, isn't this 8,000 on sale? The little girl smiled slightly at her and said, hello, one item is discounted by 9.8%. This is already the lowest discount I can give you. The white crystal nucleus is too miscellaneous. What's the use of it? Spending 8,000 star coins to buy a scrap. The people around began to show off their knowledge reserves. For embedded weapons, the higher the quality of the crystal nucleus, the higher the success rate, the better the quality, and even the possibility of exceeding the level of quality. I see some people who pretend to understand and think that white crystal nuclei are high-end goods, but in reality, it seems like he's still a high school student. Has high school taught him about this? Linyue certainly knows that this white crystal nucleus is usually used for decoration or ornamental purposes. Linyue turned around and looked at them innocently. I know. This is something I bought back for my dog to light up at night. Crowd. Linyue, even Linyue won't be able to use these things when he buys them back, and buying them would be a waste of money. Su Wan didn't know how long she had been watching in the crowd, and this statement directly caused a huge uproar. There are many of their high school classmates here. Even if I haven't seen Linyue with my own eyes, no one has ever heard of her name. Oh, who do I think it is? It's actually Linyue's dog manager, Linyue, who is holding the 13 inside. Ha ha ha, I just thought it was a real lady, so I pretended to understand without knowing. Relying on my fiancé AE's status to eat and drink from others, and now spending money recklessly, I really feel unlucky for Linyue. Amidst the ridicule from the crowd, Linyue pointed to the white crystal nucleus without changing her color and blinked at the cabinet lady. How much discount would you offer for 3? Cabinet lady took a deep breath and bought 3 in one breath. These white crystal nuclei are almost ignored and have not been sold by her for a year. This thing is not suitable for ordinary people, not for martial artists, and is too luxurious for decoration. It has become unsold. I help you ask the manager. The little girl flashed her brain to the manager. Suan pretended to sigh and said, even if Linyue wants face again, you can't joke with tens of thousands of star coins. Even if you buy 2 gray crystals with this money, Linyue should be very happy. Linyue glanced at the cabinet lady who was still brainless, then turned her head to look at Su Wan and said, who said I bought it for Linyue. We've been classmates for so many years, and who doesn't know about you? Back then, we didn't hesitate to cook lunch for Linyue, who was training with a high fever, but ended up fainting halfway up the mountain. Linyue didn't even glance at the lunch. I also had diving training. In order to compete for a chance to team up with Linyue, I almost drowned myself in the pool. And even tore up all the love letters that others gave to Linyue. Yuan exposed her faults while others around her covered their mouths and mocked her. Only the Lin lunar surface does not change color. She shrugged and said, "So, do you think loving someone should be laughed at? Or do you, those of you who secretly love him, want to find ways to destroy me if you don't get him? Destroy me, will the people around Linyue be you, Yuan?" "Hello," the manager said, "for 3 items, 20% off." The cabinet lady with a ponytail looked at Linyue with some sympathy, and the boss said it was 10% off. Originally, there was a lot of commission for selling 3 items, but she was too pitiful. She added her commission to the discount, and this order was treated as helping Linyue. Linyue looked at the empathetic cabinet lady and felt a bit helpless. When will she need someone else to help her make ends meet? I heard that, 10% off, 10% off, 1 code for 1. Linyue paid 21,600 stars to the merchant code. The cabinet sister nodded, a pair of deer with vitality in their eyes, and whispered in her ear, "Come on, it will definitely get better." Linyue smiled and carefully looked at her face, then closed her eyes and began to deduce for her. A few moments later, he looked up and said seriously to her, "You are a very lucky person, but you also need to avoid excessive blood sucking by relatives. Some fake relatives who should not have been with you should also be cut off immediately, otherwise you will suffer a big loss immediately." After listening, the cabinet lady looked cold and goosebumps all over her body. She had never told anyone about these things and never expected to be seen through by her high school sister in front of her. Her sympathy just now resonated because she felt like she was also under someone else's supervision, sniffing and being ridiculed. Do me nurtures kindness, bear me nurtures enmity. When your efforts have become a habit in the eyes of others, no one will be grateful for you. Linyue took away her crystal core. Linyue, who hurriedly arrived, only heard this sentence. His heart felt like he had been stabbed, both painful and angry. He wanted to squeeze into the crowd and ask what she meant by these words. But it has yet to take a step forward. "Ayu. Did you come back from your mission?" Linyue's appearance disrupted Lianyue's original plan. In terms of character favorability, Linyue's has more weight than Linyue's. She hurriedly moved forward, revealing a pair of surprised eyes, and then looked at him with concern. "There has been no news for 3 days, you haven't been hurt, have you? You don't know how much I'm worried about you." I don't know who shouted in the crowd, "This is Linyue." Linyue also looked over. Black long windbreaker up to the calf, black casual pants and black dark casual shoes, dressed in black, tall and handsome. With a hint of depth in his eyes, he turned to look at Lianyue, who was 1 head shorter than him, like a pair of Byron. Linyue glanced at them, handsome is handsome, bad is also bad. Now there's a good show to watch, take it out and shoot it. The crowd searched carefully, and since ancient times, the essence of Chinese people has been to love watching the excitement. Especially this kind of triangular dog blood love entanglement. When Linyue's gaze met his, he also turned his head to look at her. In this moment, I was amazed by her changes and angered by the indifference in her eyes. He doesn't know what he's angry about, but he just can't control himself and wants to get angry. Linyue walked towards him step by step, and Lianyue whispered to him, "Ayu, don't blame Xiaoye. It's because too many people around her looked down on her that she spent money recklessly in anger. Just buy it back and come back tomorrow to exchange for another crystal nucleus." Linyue didn't care about Jinghe, he didn't respond to Lianyue anymore, his eyes just fixed on Linyue. "Linyue, go home, let's have a good talk. Linyue felt that he would make a slight concession, and Linyue would definitely step back as usual. Just as I was about to grab her wrist and take her back, Linyue had already turned her arm and dodged his pull. Linyue, we don't have much to talk about. Give me back the things. Tomorrow, we will publicly announce our divorce. From now on, the bridge will return to the bridge, and the road will return to the road. Linyue and I are just unrelated people. Chapter 5. Crow Mouth Ability. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Being publicly divorced by Linyue, his face turned pale with iron. Qi Lianxin stepped forward and said, Xiaoye, are you doing this because of some rumors? I have no relationship with Au other than friends, don't misunderstand him. Don't get angry with him anymore. He always gets dangerous and tired every time he takes on a task. He can be in a bad mood sometimes. Please understand. If it's really my fault, should I delete Au Xing in front of you? Qi Lianxin's pleading with a crying tone made everyone look at her with a displeased expression. Kiliangxin is truly kind-hearted. Once after school, she was extorted and came out to help me. Me too, me too. Once when someone splashed her all over during a meal, she gave me the new clothes she had just bought. She is really nice. I think Linyue is simply envious, jealous, and resentful, using this method to attract attention. Linyue is a real scheming bitch. Speaking, Kiliangxin opened his mind and wanted to delete Linyue in front of everyone. Linyue instinctively grabbed Kiliangxin's wrist to stop her movements. Kiliangxin, it's not your fault in this matter. Qi Lianxin's eyes were red and she shook her head stubbornly, no, it's me. Xiaoye hasn't awakened and it's already very uncomfortable. I always approach you. She must feel like she's not worthy of you, that's why she's like this. She broke free from Linyue's hand and deleted him in front of everyone. For a moment, it aroused anger. Linyue, please have a face. Linyue has done his utmost kindness and righteousness to you. This time, if you withdraw from the marriage, please do it cleanly. Don't act like you're standing up again. I've been looking down on her for a long time. A garbage person who spends all day being a burden behind others has caused Qilian Xin to be kind-hearted and become a donkey's liver and lungs. At this moment, the Qilian Xin system, which was protected by everyone, is celebrating its success crazily. System. Congratulations to the host. The popularity of the guide character Linyue has skyrocketed, surpassing 80. The ability to replicate the opponent is currently being activated. Kiliangxin wildly raised the corners of her mouth behind Linyue. Linyue clenched his fist, he didn't understand why Linyue wanted to do such a thing. Does she have to make such a scene and become everyone's post-dinner joke to be satisfied? As his fist gradually loosened, Linyue looked at Linyue coldly and said, Linyue, you said you would officially divorce tomorrow. Okay, I promise you. Linyue thought that if he was like this, Linyue would definitely panic. Originally, Linyue would take the initiative to persuade him to stay and end this farce by threatening him with a divorce. Unexpectedly, Linyue did not show any embarrassment due to the criticism from the audience, but instead showed a hint of ridicule. Like an outsider, he casually and loudly said to everyone gathered around the first floor of the mall, everyone has heard me. Tomorrow we will get divorced, who will regret? Who is the dog? When passing by Kiliangxin, Linyue sneered and said, you little tricks are just deceiving Linyue. What can deleting a friend prove? It's not like you can never add it back, it's not like you'll disappear forever. Kiliangxin's heart beats faster. The system was frantically warning in her mind. Warning. Warning. The popularity of the strategy character Linyue has sharply declined, and the character's innate abilities are crazily attacking the arrest circle. System. Warning. 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 The arrest circle has completely broken down, and the favorability of the character C. Linyue is below 10. The talent ability is about to return to C. Linyue. C. Linyue was about to leave when suddenly her body seemed to be restrained. Countless scattered soft starlight converged towards C. Linyue like snowflakes. Everyone watched with wide eyes as C. Linyue was surrounded by the golden light. C. Linyue, is this awakening? This scene seems to awaken a superpower. At this moment, C. Linyue sensed countless pure spiritual powers coming towards her, and she naturally wouldn't let them go. Ignoring the surprised, jealous, or regretful gazes of the crowd, he began to sit cross-legged and absorb. Start pounding the foundation. Buzz. 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 The three sounds of heaven and earth resonated like a buzzing sound, causing everyone to cover their ears. Even the crowd who were originally trading on the rooftop was alarmed. The people in the trading arena have all stopped trading. The man in black, who was hiding in the private room, looked through the one-way glass at the woman lying cross-legged on the ground in the middle downstairs. The deep brown eyes reflected on the glass window are profound and sharp, exuding an indescribable charm, as if they can see through your heart. The owner of those eyes said to the guard on the side, "Check her background." The guard bowed respectfully and said, "Yes, sir." The people downstairs are still in shock. C. Linyue has already completed the foundation construction. Qi Lianxin bit her back teeth and fiercely said to the system, "Since I can arrest her ability once, I can arrest her again." Linyue looked at her with a complex expression and hurriedly went to sense her warrior level. But he found that he was still an ordinary person, and he frowned. How could this be? After awakening, one usually becomes a warrior, even if it is just a low-level warrior. But C. Linyue is still just an ordinary person. Pushi, there was so much commotion. I thought it was some amazing ability, but in the end, I was just an ordinary person who didn't even touch the door of the warrior. Someone in the crowd chuckled. Everyone realized later that she had not reached the level of a warrior. If you can't reach the level of a warrior, you won't be able to wear a mecha, let alone explore the interstellar space on a warship. Even if there is a great ability, it's useless. Puhaha. Harmful, indeed waste is always just waste. Faced with the ridicule of the crowd, C. Linyue had no intention of exposing her cultivation, and everything here exceeded her cognition. Especially technology. And some extraterrestrial civilizations left on Earth. I haven't figured out why people who practice have completely disappeared in this long river of Earth's history. But C. Linyue looked at the girl in front of her who had just laughed at her and said, "I see your face turning black, and I'm afraid big trouble is imminent. There will be a bloody disaster today." The girl became angry upon hearing this and said, "C. Linyue, dare you curse me? Looking for death?" The girl rolled up her sleeves and was about to hit her. I don't know why, but my feet slipped and my nose hit the iron box carried by the person in front of me. Instantly, nosebleed spurted and splattered all over the area. The girl remained stubborn and said, "C. Linyue, you're crazy. What have you done to me?" C. Linyue thought to herself, since she had awakened her powers in front of everyone, she couldn't really have none of them, could she? "Why don't we find someone disgusting?" After thinking for a while, C. Linyue pretended to be profound and said, "Hee, no talent, the crow's beak ability, which means that everything I say will come true. Who wants to give it a try?" Everyone turned black upon hearing this. Everyone took a step back, feeling unlucky. Seeing that everyone hadn't left yet, she pointed to another boy who had mentioned her and said, "You." She didn't say anything behind her, and the boy ran away without a trace. I didn't hear anything." C. Linyue found it extremely funny and clapped her hands as she walked forward step by step. Everyone spontaneously gave way, and no one dared to speak ill of her again. Only when he walked up to Linyue's side did he say, "C. Linyue, if you regret it, come home tonight to find me." C. Linyue did not respond and left with a meteor-like stride. He also looks up to himself too much. Chapter 6. Dangerous Atmosphere. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. See Linyue's impact on the Foundation today was an unexpected surprise. This way, I have 3 more crystal nuclei in my hand, which can help stabilize the Foundation period. The Qi refining period is the initial stage of cultivation for ordinary people, absorbing spiritual energy, storing it in their limbs and bones, removing impurities, strengthening the body, and having a lifespan similar to that of ordinary people. Once the foundation building period is reached, it begins to break away from the realm of ordinary people. The body can withstand attacks 10 times stronger than ordinary people, with expanded meridians and sufficient spiritual energy. Its lifespan can reach around 200. Depending on the different cultivation techniques of each sect, it can already control some innate objects in the world for its own use. Returning to her residence, Linyue didn't waste any time. She took out 3 white crystal nuclei and began to close her eyes and cross her knees. The advantage of having a full spiritual root lies in this. There is no need to choose gold, wood, water, fire, or earth. All attributes of spiritual power can be absorbed indiscriminately and transformed into colorful spiritual power. It took about an hour, which is now 2 hours, for her to stabilize. The color of the 3 crystal nuclei also completely faded. Linyue threw the crystal core shell in the trash can, feeling a bit regretful. The spiritual power needed after the foundation period is too huge, and these are far from enough. We need to find ways to make money or join a team that can hunt and kill supernatural beasts. Gulu. Linyue's stomach gurgled. She did not go through the process of clearing the valley, nor did she have high-quality Huangjing and Lingquan water as seasoning for clearing the valley. She had to give up and honestly go eat or drink nutritious water. Stepping out of the apartment, the orange sky rendered the earth, particle beam weapons added to the high walls, drones patrolling non-stop, some riding flying bicycles, some sliding flying skateboards, some seemingly taking a step, but in reality, they seemed to shrink to an inch and walked several tens of meters away. Looking at these, Linyue couldn't help but feel the power of technology. In the realm of cultivation, if one wants to fly freely in the sky, they need to build a foundation in the later stage, refine flying swords, and rely on spiritual power to control them. Like now, she can't do it yet. In the apocalypse, it seems that besides lifespan, other things that cultivators can do can also be done by ordinary people. Linyue had an indescribable feeling in her heart, always feeling that in the development and reproduction of human history, perhaps there were only some religious deviations. Push open a Chinese restaurant. Ding-ling. The small bell on the door rang. Welcome, please come this way. The small shop is not big, but it has a strong sense of the era they were in. In recent days, she has been accustomed to technology and modern style, and this eye-catching antique color has made her feel better in an instant. Follow the waiter to the last empty table, and the waiter provides the menu. Decades of pages of dishes and rice are all Chinese cuisine. Linyue only ordered 1 dumpling and another freshly squeezed juice. The waiter smiled and raised his head, saying, "There are 2 stars in total." Okay. Linyue didn't hesitate to pay over. Customers, please wait a moment. We have all the dumplings in stock, and the juice is also freshly squeezed. The waiter politely explained. Linyue nodded. Bored, holding the menu and gazing at the scenery flying around outside the glass window, the orange sky reflected back and forth, as if all colors had been dyed orange. Ding-ling is the sound of bells again. Hello and welcome, the table here is full and you need to wait for some time, the waiter said politely as he looked at the tall, handsome, and introverted man in front of him. My time is a bit tight, may I ask if I can share a table with the customers here? The man's voice was light, but he had an irresistible magic. Although the waiter was in a difficult situation, he was very willing to give this gentleman a try. Okay, let me ask for you. The waiter has a very good memory, and few people come to eat alone, with Linyue being one of the few. She walked straight over and bent down with a smile, asking, "Hello customer, would you be willing to accept table sharing?" Linyue pulled her gaze back from the window and looked at the smiling waiter, nodding, "Sure." The waiter looked surprised and said, "Thank you very much. I'll call that gentleman over now." Following the waiter's back, Linyue looked at the man standing by the door. Wearing a black windbreaker wrapped around his slender figure, taking care of his natural Sanchi differential, with his back facing the orange light, he walked towards her step by step. Standing in front of her and nodding slightly towards her, "Thank you." Those deep brown eyes, deep and sharp, exuding an indescribable charm. Linyue's intuition is that he is very charming, but more dangerous. She was very confident in killing Linyue, the so-called genius, in the battle. But facing the person in front of her, even if she didn't know his level of abilities, she still exuded a sense of danger. It is a human instinct to seek good fortune and avoid misfortune. "You're welcome." Linyue responded calmly. "It was just a chance encounter, why bother finding yourself unhappy again?" The man took off his windbreaker and revealed his thin black shirt inside. Even if all the buttons were buttoned up, the sturdy chest and arm muscles were blurry enough to show the contours, especially the broad shoulders. Linyue didn't expect it. The person wearing a windbreaker who looked slightly thin was quite tasteful. With just one glance, my gaze was drawn away. "Customer, your dumplings and juice." The steaming dumplings and juice were gently placed in front of her. After serving her the dishes, the waiter pushed the menu across from her and said, "Customer, do you still order the same as before?" The man looked at the steaming dumplings and juice on the opposite side and nodded lightly, "Yes, thank you." Listening to their conversation, Linyue roughly inferred that the man should be a regular here, and the table fight was just a coincidence. No matter how dangerous he was, it had nothing to do with her. This thought made her slightly relax and she picked up a dumpling with chopsticks, dipping it in vinegar. The most ordinary cabbage and meat filling, but eating it brings a long-lost sense of happiness. After 300 years of cultivation and nearly 300 years of cultivation, the taste of the human world has long been forgotten. After swallowing, she couldn't help but squint her eyes happily. It also reminded me of my younger days. One winter, I sneaked down the mountain with my senior sister, just in time for the Chinese New Year, and was invited into my house to eat dumplings. At that time, both she and her senior sister were eating dumplings for the first time, filled with pork and cabbage, and the custom there was to dip them in vinegar. But later Linyue sighed slightly, picked up the juice, and took a few sips. The taste of dumplings in this restaurant has always been traditional Chinese cuisine, can't you get used to it? Suddenly, a faint but not cold voice came to mind across from the other side. Linyue suppressed her thoughts and lifted her head to smile at the man across from her. "The taste is very good, I'm used to it," she said as he was speaking. The waiter pushed the dining car over. She brought a plate of dumplings and a glass of juice to the table opposite her. There was a momentary surprise on the lunar surface of Lin. "I think there are people who have the same taste as me among the dazzling dishes in this store." The wonderful atmosphere of everything being unspoken spread between the two, and no one said much, each eating dumplings from their own plates. When Linyue's last dumpling was delivered into the mouth, the man across from him was already wiping his hands. The slender hands are very eye-catching, and the delicate scars are also eye-catching. "Look at your outfit, you're still in high school." The man put down his wet wipes, folded his hands on the table, and asked naturally. Linyue pulled a wet towel, wiped her mouth, and shook her head, saying, "Now I can be considered a prospective college student." The man nodded and was about to say something when his light brain rang out, not knowing what he had seen. His dark brown eyes narrowed dangerously. The man stood up and picked up the windbreaker, nodding slightly at her. "Thank you for the table fight today, and we'll see each other when we have a chance in the future." Linyue responded politely, okay. Looking at the receding figure, Linyue quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Not actively building strong enemies has always been her code of conduct. The fighter jet that received the man outside had already arrived. At the moment the fighter jet door closed, black wind transformed into combat armor. On one side, the same person wearing armor handed over the combat light brain. Major General, it seems that there are traces of the gathering of supernatural beasts in Qingdao port, and it is uncertain whether it is a sign of the arrival of a beast tide. Well, I will personally investigate and find someone to quietly protect Linyue during my investigation. The man looked down through the window of the fighter jet, and the Chinese restaurant was getting further and further away from him. Yes, sir. Chapter 7. The Lion's Great Opening. You are listening at Novel Full.Audio. Hello customer, the total cost of 2 sets of sportswear is 10 stars. The salesperson delivered the packaged sportswear to Linyue's hand. Linyue paid and collected the clothes into the space. The storage bag here is a technology cut space that cuts countless square meters of small space. The previous storage space relied on spiritual power to create a vast space, which could not only hold dead objects but also live objects. Some powerful beings could even plant spiritual plants and live spiritual springs in the space, becoming an independent space. This is incomparable to technology. Lin Tai's phone. The optical brain connects to the brain to sense, and even without looking up at the wrist, you can know who entered. Linyue glanced at the notes and still planned to take over. Linyue, how to put it? You have also lived in our house for 5 years, eating and wearing mine, and attending the best school for you. Even as a gesture of gratitude, what things should you not want? Lin Tai spoke in a very low voice, and if it weren't for increasing her voice, she would almost be unable to hear clearly. Linyue knew that people like Lin Tai who only eat but don't vomit would not easily spit out money. With a lazy expression, he replied, "Oh, who are you talking about? That 30,000 star coins, a set of advanced armor, 1,000 pounds of low-level quenching materials, and the golden sword that my father used." The head of Guangnao paused for a moment and said, "What are you talking about? There are still 30,000 star coins left. Did Linyue's brain draw? Where could my family get so much money out of it? Are you robbing, Linyue?" The sharp sound was about to pierce through her eardrums. Linyue lowered her voice in disdain and looked up at the flying exploration drone, saying, "Oh, Lin Tai didn't look for me. I forgot that Lin Tai borrowed me 200,000 Singapore dollars for investment and still hasn't paid it back. I still have a transfer record. You. Lin Tai gasped heavily, but was unable to refute. Is this Linyue's brain burned out, or is there something wrong? It seems like a completely different person. Linyue, do you believe it or not? If you dare to ask for those things, tomorrow the entire Qingdao base area will know that you are an ungrateful person. Linyue sneered. She believed that Lin Tai had the ability to reverse black and white, but her transfer records were not vegetarian either. At best, she could go directly to the judicial process. Anyway, it would never be her who suffered in the end. She was about to say something when she heard the other party's noise. "Mom, this is between us, it's none of your business. Don't interfere anymore, doodle doodle." It seemed like Linyue's voice, and then the light brain inexplicably hung up. I slept peacefully all night. Dressed in pure white sportswear, Linyue gave Linyue a brain scan. That end connects very quickly. Is everything ready? The other person remained silent for a long time and said, Cheer up, let's go. Linyue was in a good mood. At the entrance of the notary office, Linyue drew a number and sat at the waiting area waiting for Linyue. Waiting left and right hasn't arrived yet. Linyue closed her eyes and started adjusting her breath, not wasting any time. Linyue arrived here and saw Linyue in a corner, dressed in white sportswear and with neatly tied hair. I don't know why, even though he still had that appearance, it gave him two completely different feelings. He stared at her for a long time, but there was a voice in his heart telling him not to withdraw and not to lose her. He walked towards her step by step and settled down beside her. Linyue felt someone by her side and withdrew her breath and sat up. Looking up, I met Linyue's somewhat complex eyes. Linyue raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "I still keep my promise." Linyue sat on the side, his eyes filled with exhaustion that couldn't be suppressed. "There was a misunderstanding between us, Linyue. I don't want it to end like this for no apparent reason." Linyue pushed a storage bag down in front of her and said, "This is what you need. I can return it to you, but I want to have a good conversation with you." Linyue opened the space package with 520,000 star coins, a set of advanced armor, 1,000 pounds of low-level quenched body materials, and the golden sword that her father had used. Linyue didn't expect Linyue to bring the money that his mother owed him. He was slightly surprised. The past is all in the past, and we can't go back together anymore. Linyue won't give him a chance. For 300 years in the cultivation world, she avoided touching emotions the most. Her master and mother always said that she should find a Taoist couple. When she met good people, she could have someone to accompany her. When she met someone who was not sincere, it could also be seen as crossing the love calamity. But she always feels that even if she encounters good things, she doesn't want to always rely on others. Moreover, Linyue is not a good person. If it weren't for him, the original owner wouldn't have died so tragically. Even for the sake of the innocent girl's life, she would never give Linyue a chance. Before Linyue could finish speaking, he saw 7 or 8 journalists rushing towards them, led by Lin Tai. Linyue, you are really a lion talking big and withdrawing from our marriage. You actually asked our family Linyue for over 500,000 star coins. Why don't you go grab them? The flash kept flickering in front of her. Chapter 8. Is 760,000 yuan. You are listening at novel full.audio. Linyue's face turned black on the spot, and he stepped forward to hold on to the jeweled Lin Tai, saying, "Mom, what are you doing?" Lin Tai pushed Linyue aside and looked fiercely at Linyue in front of her, saying, "What else can I do? Who would spend more than 500,000 yuan to get married? Over the years, Linyue has been eating and drinking from our Lin family. She hasn't woken up and we haven't said anything. We've been taking care of her, but what's the result? She inexplicably withdrew from the marriage and demanded so much money. Who should we talk to about this reason? Miss Linyue, is it really what Lin Tai said? You asked for over 500,000 yuan for your divorce this time. Even if it's a top-tier aristocratic school, the annual cost can't reach 100,000 Singapore dollars. May I ask what kind of money do you need for this 500,000 yuan? Linyue's heart was in chaos, and he stepped forward to block Linyue, saying, "Mom, come on, stop making trouble." Lin Tai's face darkened as she saw her son's strong attitude protecting the people behind her, and she began to pretend to wipe away tears. "How could you treat me like this? Your father was killed by his father. I raised her for so many years, gave her the best food, clothing, housing, and transportation, and trained you to be an excellent warrior. Now you're telling me this." The media sensed the smell of big news and immediately turned to Lin Tai, saying, "You said your husband is the father and child of Miss Linyue. Can you explain in detail what happened?" Linyue stood behind Linyue, watching him face a dilemma. Proactively stood up from behind him. Open the optical brain visual projection screen. Retrieve transfer records from Linyue and Lin Tai. The media keeps taking photos. Actually, I spent a total of 760,000 yuan. Since Lin Tai said he gave me the best food and clothing, I calculated it at 50,000 yuan per year, subtracted 250,000 yuan, and only spent 500,000 yuan. Is that unreasonable? Besides, both my father and your husband sacrificed themselves to defend humanity. Are you questioning the country? Upon hearing her say this, Lin Tai's face turned pale. Lin Taiyuan never shed tears, but this time he really can't shed them. My eyes began to flicker, and I retorted, I didn't say I questioned the country. She clearly remembers not having that much money. Has this girl ever transferred so much money to their family? Linyue finally couldn't help but raise his volume and said, photography is not allowed here. Please leave. He is already a genius warrior, and his abilities are also part of the spiritual series. Under the powerful spiritual pressure, the media cannot resist it, and his body spontaneously moves out. Only Lin Tai sat on the iron stool on the side, unsure who he was calling. Being disturbed by Lin Tai, Linyue knew that he could no longer talk calmly with Si Linyue. I can only follow Si Linyue to the notary office to publicly announce my divorce. After the program was completed, there was an additional announcement of Si Linyue and Linyue's divorce in the public messages of everyone in Qingdaoport. This emotional experience that has lasted for 5 years has come to an imperfect conclusion today. When Linyue went out, he wanted to hold Si Linyue, but his hand could only be held in the air. Si Linyue didn't even return and left here directly. Si Linyue had just left in the front, but Qilian Xian hurriedly arrived in the back with a worried expression as she looked at Linyue and said, "Where's Auntie?" Linyue gestured inside. Qi Lianxin sighed slightly at him and said, "Linyue, don't let love ruin you. You deserve a broader sky." Linyue looked at Qi Lianxin's encouraging face and nodded. Yes, in this era where humans can use supernatural powers to increase their lifespan, perhaps love is really just secondary. He Linyue will one day stand at the top of the world, waiting for the day when Si Linyue regrets it. Kiliangxin System. Congratulations to the host. The character Linyue has exceeded 85 likes and is currently replicating Linyue's abilities. Upon hearing the system say this, Qilian Xian couldn't help feeling ecstatic. Although the replicated ability could only play 80% of Lin Yuban's ability, it was already sufficient for the assessment of new students entering the school. If one can obtain a 100% favorability like Si Linyue, they can completely deprive the character of their abilities. Unfortunately, the favorability of Linyue is too difficult to grasp. With the money, Si Linyue no longer plans to live in an apartment. She cultivates differently from a psychic, and Si Linyue plans to buy a quiet place. At least in areas that no one can discover when breaking through. Si Linyue searched in the optical brain for a long time and found that some of the better plots here require some identity holders to have the right to purchase. For example, people who join the Warriors League, people from the Hunter Club, or some who contribute to the base and humans. Her martyrdom status is only enough to retain her parents' original residence, and she cannot purchase the places she likes at the Qingdao base. Currently, there are only 2 methods. 1. Joining the Warrior Alliance is something she can't do at all. It's already the time to build the foundation, and in the eyes of others, she's still an ordinary person. 2. I just joined the hunting club. Carefully read the recruitment requirements of the hunting club. Age. Under 50 years old. Requirement. Priority given to martial artists. Secondly, it is required that in simulated combat, one can independently kill G.level supernatural beasts and must be under the age of 30. Perhaps you can go to the hunting club to try the second requirement, which happens to test your foundation building skills and the results of battling G.level supernatural beasts. Si Linyue deposited the star coins given to her by Linyue into her account and walked to the nearby recruitment point of the hunting club. Seeing 5 or 6 people holding assessment cards, they walked towards the central guidance personnel. The guide glanced at Si Linyue, and his eyes lit up slightly. What a beautiful little girl. Hello, may I ask if there is anything I can do? The guide asked as usual. Linyue opened the optical brain and pointed to the conditions for recruitment above. Hello, I would like to try the second recruitment criteria. The guide looked at her with some surprise and said, are you sure? Even with holographic induction, the pain sensation is real. Many ordinary people, when experiencing a state of fake death, are unconscious for at least 3 days. Linyue nodded and smiled, yes. All that had to be said had already been said. Seeing Linyue's insistence, she had no choice but to take out the assessment card and input her information, handing it to her. Linyue reached out and took it, thank you. The guide said helplessly, good luck to you. There are only 3 assessment warehouses here, and only 3 people are evaluated each time. So wait here. When she sat in the waiting seat, everyone couldn't help but be attracted by her appearance. After realizing that she was just an ordinary person, they couldn't help but disdain her. Linyue doesn't understand. What does their perception of the strong rely on? At least looking at the 5 people in front of her now, she can confirm that even if they work together, they cannot withstand the pressure she has fully released. Why is her cultivation not sensed by the cultivators here? According to Linyue's memory, a psychic is an energy body formed by combining the strength of the body and the strength of the spiritual power within the body, and based on their awakened psychic talents. Actually, it's not much different from a cultivator. Practice is also an energy body formed by the body, mind, meridians, and spiritual power. It shouldn't have been ignored. She was lost in thought when a mocking laughter suddenly came to her side. Haha, who should I be? So it's Linyue. They were Yuan and Qi Lianxin. These 2 people are really haunted and can be met wherever they go. Assessment card, my goodness, Linyue, you won't have to rely on your crow mouth ability to participate in the assessment, will you? Chapter 9. Golden Spirit Body. You are listening at novel full.audio. A few people in front unconsciously looked towards Yuan when they heard her voice. At the sight of her being just an ordinary person, she shook her head disdainfully. You should know that assessment is holographic. After being killed by a power beast, not only will you faint, but you will also create shadows in your heart. Moreover, you will never be able to face the power beast directly in your lifetime. Yuan, don't say that. Xiaoye has already awakened her abilities, and if she works harder, she will definitely become a warrior. Linyue grabbed Yuan's arm and showed goodwill towards Linyue. If it weren't for being killed by her own hands once, according to the original owner's nature, this meeting would probably be moved to tears. But she's not Linyue, she won't be moved by these little tricks. If Linyue was really a good person, how could he get so close to Yuan? And how could he wait repeatedly for Yuan to finish speaking and see everyone's reaction before stopping? The next group. The 3 people who entered the group quickly came out and were about to arrive at Linyue. Linyue glanced at Yuan and Qi Lianxin and said, all the gossip will eventually be returned. Instead of wasting it here, it's better to wait here for the good news of my admission. Yuan pointed at her back and panted heavily. Lianxin grabbed her and said, all right. Yuan looked at Linyue who had already entered, her chest constantly heaving, and she said, I really hope she dies. Qi Lianxin also hopes that without Linyue's ability, her strength will greatly decrease. Fortunately, Linyue's ability has been replicated by her. Otherwise, the new student would have made a fool of herself. A holographic chamber is a small chamber where a person lies outside, and their entire body is proportionally projected onto a battlefield. There is only one superpower beast on the battlefield, G. level. The minimum level for a psychic beast is level H, and the assessment level for the hunting alliance is 1 level higher, level G. Linyue opened her eyes again and was already on the battlefield, with a warning sound ringing in her ear. Please select the appropriate weapon for the assessor. Linyue looked at the cold and hot weapons on the shelf and ultimately chose a long sword, which she had never practiced with. Countdown to enter the battlefield, 10, 9, 8, 7. Linyue held a sword flower in her hand, and both the touch and pain were real. She exclaimed in amazement. Roar! A deafening roar rang in my ear. The prompt sounded again. G.level superpower beasts have low intelligence, are bloodthirsty and manic, and are aggressive towards all humans. Wishing you good luck. The sunset is setting in the west, and the setting sun is like blood. Above the rusty and abandoned high-rise building, a shadow flies from top to bottom. The two huge wings were like iron plates, reflecting an orange glow. Their eyes were dyed with blood red, carrying a crazy killing intent, which made people feel a little palpitated. It is an iron-winged pigeon, resembling a pigeon in appearance, but it is 20 times the size of its body. Its wings are as hard as iron, hence its name. It was extremely fast, and after smelling her scent, it rushed over without hesitation. The huge wings stirred up a fishy wind, and the howling of eagles carried a nauseating stench. Linyue frowned and held the long sword in her hand. Bang! The steel hit like steel, sparks splattered everywhere. Linyue resisted the attack and swung a sword with her backhand towards its leg bend. In an instant, black blood gushed out and a foul smell spread everywhere. Linyue used her strength to jump away and directly jumped onto the back of the iron-winged pigeon, with a cold expression in her eyes. The long sword infused with spiritual power shimmered with a blue cold light. Without any hesitation, Linyue fiercely inserted it into the back neck of the iron-winged pigeon from top to bottom. The entire head of the iron-winged pigeon rolled down like an iron ball, and black blood gushed out from the neck. At the moment when Linyue jumped down, the entire body of the iron-winged pigeon finally collapsed. Congratulations on killing the G.level monster. It took 20 seconds and ranked 9th in the national assessment record. Congratulations on completing the assessment. Please go to the exit and hold down the exit button. Linyue put the long sword back in its original place, ranking 9th in the country, but it only took 20 seconds to finish 9th. It seems that she is a bit underestimating the psychic warrior. If you start by swinging your sword and cutting off your neck, it may take less time. Linyue doesn't care about these rankings and has a general understanding of G.level superpower beasts. This level of superpower beast can be solved with just one sword. Just as she was about to leave, a cold air suddenly wafted out from behind, very cold, and slowly walked towards her. Linyue stopped in her tracks, squinted her eyes, and turned her head to look around. A golden shadow floated in mid-air, but Linyue had a strange feeling of being stared at. Linyue squinted at the golden spiritual body and said, "What are you doing with me?" The golden spirit suddenly trembled and then excitedly spun around for her, as if to follow her. Linyue frowned as she looked at the golden spiritual body. Generally, the spiritual bodies of mortals who have done good deeds are also pure white. Only practitioners, at least those who have achieved the golden elixir, will have a golden spiritual body. Please walk to the exit and hold down the exit button, Ancestor. Linyue reached out and took the golden spiritual body into her hand, wrapping it with her own spiritual power. I don't know if I can take it out. After pressing the exit button, a halo flashed and she opened her eyes inside the warehouse. After the cabin opened, Linyue instinctively sensed the palm of her hand, and the golden spiritual body was still there. I found her father's golden sword in the storage bag and let the spiritual body temporarily reside. Just walked out of the warehouse. The warrior working at the hunting club was very surprised when he saw her come out and said, "How did you manage to kill a superpowered beast? You don't even count as a warrior." "I have awakened a superpower, it's a bit special." Linyue can only shift the matter onto the superpower, as many people have witnessed her awakening. "It's amazing, please follow me to enter the information of the members of the hunting club." Linyue nodded and followed. "Didi." After inputting Linyue's information into the optical brain, the person from the hunting club smiled and walked forward to the ground to prove their identity with an identification card. This is a discount card for joining the hunting club. In 3 days, we will team up with you according to your combat habits and the system. Linyue received the identity card of the hunting club and received it in the space bag. As soon as I walked out, I saw Yuan and Qi Lianxin being carried on a stretcher by medical staff and spreading exhaustion. Seeing Linyue come out, Qi Lianxin's face was startled, and then a hint of unwillingness flashed past. She wiped the sweat off her forehead and looked up at Linyue with a smile. "Congratulations, Xiaoye. Let's fight side by side in the future." The people around were amazed and watched as Linyue walked out of the assessment room flawlessly. How can an ordinary person even kill a G.level superpower beast? Even the lowest H.level superpower beast can easily fight hundreds of ordinary people. Moreover, it is one order higher than the G.level. Linyue glanced at Qi Lianxin, who was forced to smile, sneered and left without looking back. At the moment when Linyue left, Qi Lianxin's face changed. Linyue, wait and see. Sooner or later, all of yours will be mine. Chapter 10. Yi is the all-spirit root. You are listening at novel full.audio. Returning to her temporary residence, Linyue retrieved the golden spiritual body from the golden sword. Fingertips accumulated some spiritual power and gently wrapped around it. The golden spiritual body slowly stretched out, gradually forming a humanoid shape in the air, and even gradually taking on a facial appearance. Dark long hair hangs down my waist, and a pair of slightly confused golden eyes are particularly eye-catching, about half a meter high, floating in the air. A pair of golden eyes met the clear gaze of Linyue. Suddenly surprised, you have already laid the foundation. Linyue raised her eyebrows, it seemed that she had guessed correctly. The spiritual body in front of her was also a cultivator during her lifetime. But now it's too weak, even the spiritual body is pitifully small, like a small Q version. Why are you in the assessment warehouse? The half-meter-tall golden spiritual body waved its hand and said, "Why should I tell you something about my master? This stinky appearance." Linyue nodded and said, "Okay." As she spoke, she withdrew her spiritual power that had originally wrapped around him. The golden spiritual body's radiance became increasingly dim, and he urgently said, "Master, you're wrong. Give me some spiritual power quickly." Linyue certainly won't let him really dissipate, and continued to envelop him with spiritual power. "Can you now tell me about your grandfather's experience?" Go. Qi Lin flattened his mouth. My heart kept exploding. If it weren't for coming to this ghost apocalypse, I would definitely want you to look good. The young master was struck by lightning while crossing the divine realm. He opened his eyes and arrived at this ghostly place, without any spiritual power. Before I could find a body to give up, I was grabbed by a wave of energy and fell asleep for an unknown amount of time. It wasn't until I sensed spiritual power earlier that I woke up again. She also arrived here after crossing the divine realm, perhaps from the same place as her. This is the end of the world, unable to absorb spiritual power. You can stay in the sword first, buy a house first, and then buy a crystal core for you. Linyue forcibly caught him in the sword, which was very barbaric. Qi Lin was furious and said, "This uncultured woman, wait until the master cultivates her body, you wait." Linyue has a member of the Hunting Alliance and has checked some discount policies. She is really satisfied. Linyue stopped at a 3-story villa in a mountain villa. Hunter Alliance members are eligible to purchase houses here and enjoy a 10% discount. The original price of the house was 1 million star coins, but the current price is only 100,000 yuan. All the supporting facilities are complete, and you only need to move in with your bag. Linyue paid and replaced the house's defense system with her own optical intelligence. Pushing open the window on the second floor, halfway up the mountain, overlooking the sea outside the defense wall of the base, I also understood why it was necessary for warriors and members of the Hunting Alliance to purchase. Ordinary people live here, and if the psychic beasts in the sea undergo any changes, they may not even have the chance to notice and die in their sleep. The sea used to be a good place for ordinary people to rest and earn money to support their lives, but now it has become the most dangerous place with countless supernatural beasts lurking in it. Woman, when will you give me some spiritual power? Half a meter tall is really a shame for me in my life. The voice of the people inside the golden sword was filled with resentment. Linyue regained her senses and glanced at the golden sword pinned to her waist. Let's go now. The spiritual body should be constantly absorbing the energy of the crystal nucleus in the assessment chamber to prevent it from dissipating. There is no assessment warehouse now. If this continues, it will be completely destroyed in less than 3 days. Linyue returned to the previous exchange and headed straight to the previous counter lady. The cabinet lady was busy packing for the customer, and when she saw that it was Linyue, she quickly smiled and said, "Customer. After listening to your words last time, something really happened." Linyue saw that her face had turned slightly red, which was a sign of good luck. It seemed that she had successfully overcome the difficulties. "Is that right?" Linyue smiled gently, unable to discern her previous indifference, as if willing to listen to her continue. The cabinet lady seemed to be encouraged and said excitedly, "My parents died under the beast tide when I was 10 years old. I lived with my aunt and uncle, and since I was able to earn money independently, all the money I earned was given to my aunt. Later, by chance, I came to the exchange to work as a cabinet lady, earning much more than before, and now I have enough money to buy a house. Just a few days ago, my aunt asked me to buy a house for my cousin, and I kept hesitating. When I saw my hesitation, my aunt called me a white-eyed wolf and even promoted in the village that after I got along well, I would no longer support them. It was also because of your words from the customer and your prompt withdrawal that I had the courage to cut off these blood-sucking relatives. Now I can also be reborn." Linyue has always been gentle towards those who work hard and have never done anything wrong. She never felt that she could cultivate and live for hundreds or thousands of years to be superior to others. She always wondered if she had the courage to live with such passion and perseverance if she were just an ordinary person. "Blessing you, everything will be smooth and life will be complete in the future." Linyue carefully observed her mortal bones. She didn't understand how her powers awakened, but her cultivation skills were too poor. Even if she used up her crystal core, she couldn't achieve the goal of building a foundation in this life. If it's just the refining period and the lifespan is no different from that of an ordinary person, it's better not to give her hope and let her become an ordinary person. Thank you." The cabinet lady expressed her gratitude with great excitement. Linyue smiled and shook her head, "Do you have advanced crystal nuclei here?" The shopkeeper's eyes widened and she said, Hi. I only have the qualification to sell low-level ones, and I have only seen intermediate ones once or twice. High-level ones are traded on the top, not at the counter." Linyue nodded and said, "If you introduce the purchase, you should also have some performance, right?" The cabinet lady was confused when asked and nodded, "Yes." "Yes." Linyue smiled at her and said, "Can you help me contact your supervisor?" The cabinet lady was almost pleasantly surprised, her eyes wide open. Excitedly flicked his brain. The supervisor quickly walked down, a calm middle-aged man who looked at Linyue with a hint of doubt. But his gaze caught a glimpse of the golden sword hanging around her waist, his eyes slightly stunned, and then his attitude became more respectful. "Hello, customers, please come with me." Linyue said to the cabinet lady, "Thank you for contacting me." The cabinet lady quickly waved her hand and said, "No, thank you, customer." The supervisor glanced at the cabinet sister and nodded at her with a hint of appreciation. The cabinet sister's cheeks were very red and excited, as if she had been praised. Thanks to C. Linyue. The supervisor took her to a high-end trading counter. Introduced to her personally. Intermediate and advanced crystal nuclei are very rare, and you need to kill E-level and above superpower beasts to have a chance to obtain them. They are very expensive, so they all trade in specially protected trading rooms. Please understand. C. Linyue nodded and responded, I completely understand. She spoke with her mind towards the golden spirit body in the golden sword. What attribute are you cultivating? I only heard that stinky fart say, young master, you have all attributes. Do you understand all spiritual roots? All. Spirit. Root. There is no genius in the world. Humph. C. Linyue almost couldn't help but roll her eyes, as if she didn't have any spiritual roots. What's wrong with her?